Right, I finally got a new phone so I can show you the engine running. I was going to show you it running perfectly, but I think it could do with probably new fuel injectors, new ignition leads and new distributor caps and rotor arms, because they're like 8 years old and they've been moved around with the engine rebuild. But so it's not running absolutely perfectly. It vibrates, so it's just like rock. It's not been started for like a week, so you'll see. So the oil pressure's all good. It's really quiet now. So I think it either needs, or it might need inlet manifold gaskets. It's slightly off in a bit. So as you can see, it runs. That's it running. That weird, that's the, you know, that pump that pumps the exhaust gases back into the inlet manifold. That'll stop in a minute and it'll be a lot quieter, that weird clicking noise. That one down there. That's to... It's not even required for ITV, that pump, and it's really annoying because it makes the inlet manifold really dirty. But as you can see, it's really quiet, there's no knocks. I wish that pump would hurry up and stop. You can see I've managed now, there's not bits of engine all over the house anymore. The plan was to get all the bits back on the car so I could clean the house up and actually do the garden and do other stuff because I've been so focused on this engine. There you are, it's possible. Come on, pump, turn off so they can hear how quiet it is. Well, we'll come back and... Oh, there you go. Now listen to that. That's pretty good, isn't it? It's got a very slight rock on it, which I think with the fuel injectors or maybe the inlet manifold, because I forgot to put this part on, this pipe, for the vacuum, for the brake servo. I had to take the inlet manifold back off again because I forgot to put this little pipe on. Yeah. So, that was so difficult. Well, I'll just show you a few other things that you need to know about. I sanded the cylinder heads and the block with this thing, a piece of glass which is supposed to be perfectly flat. And that's how I got a good surface on the cylinder head and the block. Now, if I was going to do one thing, I wouldn't do this because it's given me sleepless nights because I was thinking, is it going to seal and stuff? If I had the cylinders again, I'd put them back on dirty. I'd just scrape off the bits of gasket and they'd all be brown and stained and looking horrible. But at least I'd know they're perfectly flat. So I'd put those back on. But it seemed, mine's all right, seems to be okay. It's given me sleepless nights. This is like just the parts. It's like 5,000 euros worth of parts here. It's mainly bits of plastic and pipes and, you know, all sorts of things. It's amazing how it adds up, and the new bearings and everything. So it's probably cost about 5,000 in parts, but I got all genuine Mercedes stuff. That was a good way of storing the camshafts. You can see wrapping them in cling film. There's the bearings. I had to buy all these. I use this thing for putting the piston, compressing the piston rings. It's like that, which goes onto that. I like that. I prefer this more than to the Jubilee clips for compressing the piston rings. So I measured all the camshafts and crankshaft and everything to check it was all in spec, which it was. That was for pulling out the pins that hold in the things that hold in the timing chain, the plastic timing chain guides. A pin puller. What else? Now, the one thing I'd say that is important with this engine is that when you put the gasket, the liquid gasket, around here for the timing chain cover, the front cover, you need to be, there's the timing chain cover, and that goes on top like that, back on down. That's where the water pump would go and the crankshaft comes out. But you need to be really careful on this central galley where all the oil goes down in there, that not to put any too much liquid gasket on here, just this bit, because if that gets into the oil system, it will go into the bearings and ruin the bearings. That's one. And also on the back plate, it's the same. You don't, most people, if you take the back plate off of there, putting the gasket around there, you've got to be put hardly any on, because if you put too much on, it will go into your bearings and ruin the bearings. That awful knocking noise was caused by this. That was the puller I was saying. You pull out these rods which hold on the plastic timing chain guides. And mine was making a rhythmical knocking noise because, can you see how the plastic's actually stuck in that timing chain? So as it went round, it sounded like a bearing because it was perfectly knocking in time rather than just a rattle. But these were what caused that rattle. One of these guides broke like that and put slack in the chain, then it's bouncing up and down, and it's basically rattling on the top of there. I mean, it's been sanded down a bit, that one, but that's what the noise, bang, 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 the chain banging on that. You've got the wheel in there, the gear wheel. It should be like that. So that noise was like caused by that, knocking the chain banging on there. Yeah. There's a chain. Give you an idea of the size of the chain. It's a big thing. I don't think you need to replace these really. I think these are gone forever. They might get a bit slack and put the ignition timing out of spec, but so it slows it down. Right, what else? What else can I show you? There isn't. Oh, the one thing I found with the engine rebuild was I had no oil pressure when I tried to start it, and that's because obviously when you put the crankshaft all together and the oil pump on. This is the oil pump, and you prime the oil pump with oil. But then when you put the cylinder heads on, you have to crank it down. When you do that, all the oil goes out of the oil pump, and you end up with no oil pressure. And I tried everything to get oil pressure. The only option is to take off the small bottom sump, undo this nut from underneath there, and then start turning and pull the chain off and start turning around, and you have to prime the pump by hand unless you don't turn the crankshaft around. But it's really hard to put the engine back together without turning the crankshaft around. So if you have no oil pressure, it's because your oil pump's dry. I don't think there's much else to show. Yeah. As you can see, this is the state the house gets when you do an engine rebuild. I wouldn't recommend it really. Anyway, so let's just have another look at the engine, see what it's doing. I haven't heard it for a week because I keep saying it's like €1,000 at least for those parts. So I haven't got around it. It's probably like missing a bit, but it's just like rocking a bit. I think it's a feeling jack to it. It goes fast. I've driven it around. It really goes. So there you have it. I never thought I'd see that today, so I did.